Dr. K. Paranivelu, Professor at the Center for Environmental Studies and Director of Center for Climate Change and Disaster Management, Anna University, Chennai. He obtained his PhD degree from Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, Chennai. He worked as project officer for a brief period at IIT Madras and moved on to the Center for Environmental Studies, Anna University in 1992. He was a visiting professor at Chungam National University, South Korea during 2007. He has been teaching courses on environmental chemistry, environmental pollution control, and instrumental methods of analysis since last 27 years. He has guided 75 students for ME and MSc, 4 MPhil, 2 MS, and 15 PhDs. He has published 135 papers in journals and 90 in conference and symposiums. He has received several awards in national and international levels.
Welcome to the lecture series on chemistry of environment. We are discussing about soil environmental chemistry, and today we are going to discuss about nutrients present in soil, and to enhance the agricultural productivity we also go for fertilizer addition of these nutrients as well as some agrochemicals to protect the crop. That aspects we will discuss today. If you look at the soil nutrients, and these nutrients, one of the most important functions of the soil and supporting the plant growth is the main function. Okay. That is to provide essential plant nutrients consisting of both macronutrients and micronutrients essential for the plant growth. And if you look at the macronutrients present in soil are those elements that occur in soil in substantial level and in plant materials or in fluids in the plant where it is growing. So, that type of things are macronutrients which are all required in higher quantity. And coming to micronutrients, these are elements that are essential only at very low level and generally are required for the functioning of essential enzyme. So, these elements are required at very low concentration, and if you look at it, all these micronutrients are somehow connected with the functioning of essential enzymes present. If you look at what are the micronutrients in soil, the essential micronutrients for plants are boron, chlorine, sodium, copper, iron, manganese, zinc, vanadium and molybdenum. So, these are the micronutrients which are required for the plant growth at very low concentration, and they are required at trace level, and if present at higher levels have a toxic effect to the plant materials. Okay. So, this is also required at a micro quantity level, and most of this elements serves as the components of essential enzymes. That is a very significant one. And some of these elements like a chlorine, manganese, iron, zinc and vanadium are likely to take part in photosynthesis reaction of plants material, through which the plant material synthesizes the carbohydrate material from carbon dioxide with the help of sunlight. Macronutrients, these are all the elements required in macro quantity and required for the plants of normal growth are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, potassium, calcium and magnesium. These elements are required in a reasonably higher quantity, that is why it is called macronutrients. And where they do get all this plant material is mainly they get these elements from atmosphere and water. These are the main source for this carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So, atmosphere and water actually provides oxygen, and carbon and hydrogen mainly get from this, and nitrogen may be obtained by some plants also directly from atmosphere. Not all plants are capable of doing this, only few elements which have a cyanobacteria things they do get from atmosphere through nitrogen fixing bacteria and mainly from organically bound nitrogen of vegetation matter as well as animal decay that are all present in soil. That is the main source for nitrogen. So, both atmosphere and organically bound nitrogen in soil mainly derived from vegetable matters decomposition is the main source, and other essential macronutrients are usually obtained from the soil itself. Okay. So, nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen not from soil, that is atmosphere and water they provide. Other essential macronutrients are mainly derived from soil itself. And sometimes we notice nutrients deficiency. Okay. That means it will not support proper plant growth as well as yield normally obtained from these materials are deficient quantity and may not have nutritious value also. So, we have to go for nutrient management or nutrient addition. Usually NPK, the three major one, that is nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, are commonly added to soil as a fertilizer, suppose if there is a deficiency. If you look at calcium, this is again one of the macro elements. Sometimes calcium deficiency in soil also observed, and this is due to calcium uptake by plants and mainly by leaching by carbonic acid. Carbonic acid, especially in acidic environment where H plus ion of this carbonic acid may compete with the calcium available in the soil, and competition with a high level of also sometimes sodium, potassium and magnesium, especially in alkaline soil. These elements, alkaline things, will be always associated with the sodium, potassium and magnesium. There again, even calcium is available in the soil, the plant may feel a deficiency for calcium because of this competitive reactions. And calcium deficient soils are generally treated with lime, addition of lime, that is liming to provide the required calcium supply for the plants is how we have to manage it. So, mainly acidic condition and other ions at higher concentration may compete for calcium, and that leads to calcium deficiency in soil even though it is available in soil. But this can be overcome by adding excess lime, whatever not excess but actually required for the soil, for the plant material. Another important element is magnesium, that is usually present in soil, and magnesium is made available for the plant through ionic change, organic matter or clay. The magnesium is usually bound to organic matter and clay and normally made available through ion exchange reactions to the plant whatever it is required. And magnesium deficiency in soil is caused by high level of calcium, sodium or potassium, again competitive reaction. The availability of magnesium to plants depends upon the calcium to magnesium ratio. Actually, what is the ratio of calcium to magnesium ratio in soil? If this ratio is too high, that is the calcium quantity when compared to magnesium is very high, magnesium may not be available to plants and magnesium deficiency normally results in. So, it depends on the ratio of this calcium to magnesium, and excessive levels of potassium or sodium may cause magnesium deficiency also sometimes. Okay. So, mainly similar to calcium, again because of the competitive availability of other cations present in the soil makes magnesium deficiency, and magnesium is usually made available to the plant through ion exchange reaction that is actually bound to organic matter or clay in the soil. Sulfur is another element, and it is available in soil as a sulfate, and this is directly taken by the plants in the form of sulfate. Unlike the case of potassium, sulfate ions are not bound by ion exchange binding site as a through cation exchange reaction, and it be available for assimilation by plant roots very easily. So, sulfate is taken up directly by the sulfate anion form by the plant material. And soil deficient in sulfur do not support plant growth well, okay, and largely because sulfur is a component of some essential amino acids and of thymine and biotin biomolecules like this. Thymine and biotin is a sulfur is a component of this. Suppose there is a deficiency of this sulfur, then again the functions is affected, amino acids whatever they support and other biomolecules is what leads to sulfur deficiency. And sulfate ion is present in the soil as immobilized insoluble sulfate mineral like calcium sulfate, or as a soluble salt which are readily leached from soil and last as a soil water runoff, because except maybe the calcium, other whatever cations associated with the sulfur is easily made water soluble, like sodium sulfate, potassium sulfate, everything is water soluble compound, and mostly it is all washed out during water runoff, the sulfate molecule what is available, then again there may be a deficiency. So, if we look at the fertilizer application, the major fertilizer is NPK, and nitrogen, potash and phosphorus. So, these are the things normally added to the soil as amendment whenever a deficiency of this nitrogen, phosphorus and potash is there. And if we look at nitrogen, over 90% of the nitrogen is organically bound, that is soil humus is a main reservoir which actually provides nitrogen for the plant growth. The nitrogen cycle also shown in this diagram, and mostly plant materials take up nitrogen in the atmosphere. Okay. As I mentioned before, certain material ligneous type of plant material is capable of, that is azobacteria, they are capable of directly fixing nitrogen, like certain plants material like soybean is capable of doing this, fix the atmospheric nitrogen directly and it goes for the plant growth. Other natural process is availability of nitrogen in the atmosphere made available to the soil through rain with the thunderstorm. Whenever there is a lightning, a strong electrical potential is created that is sufficient to convert the molecular nitrogen into nitrate, the thunder or lightning that actually brings convert portion of the molecular nitrogen into nitrate, and during the rain it washed out and reaches the soil thing, that actually provides nutrient thing. Otherwise nitrogen is cyclic in the environment through whenever the plant materials die, the amino acids protein whatever present in it is slowly converted into ammonia, and ammonia again converted into nitrate. Mostly plant materials take the nitrogen in the form of nitrate ion, and that is available in the soil solution of the soil, and plant root they pick up this nitrate and that goes here. So, plants and soil materials grown on a nitrogen rich soil provide higher yield usually. Whenever nitrogen content is more, the yield is also good, and not only that, it is all, if you look at the protein content of this material, they provide highly nutritious material. Protein content is also very high. So, usually nitrogen is one of the critical factor that is actually important for the plant growth. And as I mentioned before, the more suitable form of nitrogen is nitrate. And whenever there is a deficiency, normally we will go for artificial fertilizer, and there are many nitrogen containing materials are added like ammonia and ammonium carbamate, all these things, but urea is the most popular fertilizer normally applied to the soil for the plant growth. Always this is a problem. Normally urea is applied in excess, and that leads to nitrogen contamination and leaching of nitrate, everything is happening because of the artificial, which is not good. But instead what we can do is we can go for bio based fertilizer. Our solid waste is one of the ideal source. On proper composting, the solid waste material can be converted into a proper natural manure, bio-based one that is environmentally benign. Not only nitrogen, it contains all the macronutrients and micronutrients, which is very good for a single fertilizer as a bio one, which is environmentally benign. And as far as possible, we have to go for this bio based fertilizer. Other element required is phosphorus is also required for the plant growth. It should be present. Although the percentage of phosphorus in plant material is relatively low, okay, but it is one of the essential component of plant materials for the proper support growth. And phosphorus, like nitrogen, must be present in a simple inorganic form, usually the orthophosphate component or phosphoric acid, and before it can be taken away plant material. So, the ideal form of phosphorus is a orthophosphate, which can be taken up by plant material very easily, as in the case of nitrogenous nitrate. And whenever there is a deficiency noticed for phosphorus in soil, usually the addition of superphosphate, okay, is a compound normally added as a phosphate fertilizer, and naturally also in alkaline soil that will be fixed as a calcium phosphate in the form of hydroxy compounds also fixed normally, but whenever there is a deficiency we will go for superphosphate addition. And phosphate minerals are rich in trace elements too. Whatever the fertilizer we added also rich in other trace elements required for plant growth, such as boron, copper, manganese, molybdenum, zinc, etc. Okay. And other fertilizer is ammonium phosphate, DAP. Diammonium phosphate is also added sometimes as a soil nutrient, but in this case it provides both nitrogen and phosphorus, which is required very much for the plant growth. Potassium is another important fertilizer or nutrient required along with the nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. These are the three most commonly added to the soil for amendment whenever nutrient deficiency is noticed. The importance of potassium is potassium activates some enzyme and plays an important role in water balance and plant materials also. So, this is a dual role. It activates enzyme of the plant as well as water balance that is available in plant materials also balanced with the help of nitrogen. And also it is essential for some carbohydrate transformation. Potassium presence is important. Crop yield are reduced whenever there is a deficiency in potassium in soil. Okay. So, this is one of the major issue. Okay. So, always potassium should be analyzed in soil. What are the content of this? Otherwise, crop yield is one of the key question. And always the higher the productivity of the crop, the more potassium is removed from the soil. Okay. So, usually we ought to go for potassium things. So, the higher the productivity of the crop, not only the rice and other thing, even the plant materials yield is good. Mostly potassium is in a reasonable concentration that is what taken up, and there may be a deficiency in potassium in the soil. Okay. And potassium is usually supplemented as a potassium chloride or as a potassium oxide. It is applied to the soil as amendment fertilizer, but usually potassium should be maintained, and as mentioned here, if the yield is more, definitely there will be a deficiency in potassium that should be amended by the addition of this. And another key point is sometimes there is a practice of the farmers, the main yield of this material like rice or wheat, after harvesting they leave the plant residue, and sometimes burning of these plant materials also happening. That really may supplement potassium, but usually it creates a lot of air pollution issue. This should be borne in mind whenever we go for burning of this crop residue. It is not good. Okay. It leads to a lot of air pollution, especially in the winter time. This is a problem in part of the North India, so this should be stopped. Okay. In fact, many people, they have analyzed the particulate matter concentration. They found the particulate matter origin is from the burning of crop. Definitely the particles contains a lot of huge amount of potassium. This is one of the main source. So the dust particle comes from burning of crop material. Okay. So that is an indication where potassium values will be usually will be high. So the addition of fertilizer, sometimes maybe in higher concentration of a phosphorus nitrate, causes eutrophication, because they leach out of the soil and reaches the water body like a lake and other things, pond, and usually they promote eutrophication. Okay. That leads to lowering of DO in surface water, and fish kill. All these things is associated with this eutrophication problem. So excessive application of fertilizer should be taken care, it should not be done. And also improper use of potassium salt destroys soil structure, resulting soil compaction. That is also paid attention. Excessive trace elements which is required as a nutrient could easily pollute the soil, poisoning of crops, affecting the yield and quality also. So excessive amounts of the micro quantity of the elements required also should not be used. That also lead to soil poisoning of the crop, affecting ultimately the yield and the quality of the agricultural product. Apart from this nutrients, we do go for other agrochemicals to protect the crop. So the fertilizer is one. Normally we will apply in sometime in excess, and that is again a problem. Not only this, and the other important chemicals are pesticide. Okay, along with fertilizer, these two are added to ensure maximum yield of the agricultural crop. So the agrochemical like pesticide are still very important in crop protection. Okay. So without this, very difficult or manage the pest problem. And intensive use of pesticide over the years may result in some environmental problems, because most of these pesticides are non-biodegradable, persist in environment for a longer time. That is a problem, such as contamination of soil and groundwater with this chemical, and consequent health related issues due to the use of pesticide. When pesticides are applied to protect crops from pest as well as disease, only around 50% of the preparation of this one, whatever we applied, hit the target. The rest of this pesticide active chemical distributed in the soil as well as in air. Okay. So this is one of the important problem. It creates environmental pollution. So the pesticide applied moved out from the actually applied site through air, water, and through plants, animals, and objects. It is possible. If you consider air drift is a main movement of the pesticide, and it will be taken as a particles as well as droplets, and sometimes even vapors. Okay. Some pesticides are used as a fumigant and as well as non-fumigant. So here is another one of the important medium through which pesticide can move away from the wherever it is applied. So water is another vehicle which carry the pesticide, that is through drift, leaching, runoff, spills and leaks, and improper disposal. Too much of water, that is rain, irrigation, etc., also take this pesticide in it and take it to other places also, as well as on plant and animal and objects, that is contaminated clothing, high residues, as well as over tolerances. All these things also cause pesticide movement into the environment. And pesticide after application in the crop, the remaining thing goes to the soil as a residue. So the soil is a main matrix for pesticide things, and always the pesticide contamination is analyzed in soil too as a soil residue. And bulk of the pesticide residues in soil are generally confined to the upper 5 centimeter of the topsoil. Okay. they may not move much below this, and usually they will confine to top layer of the soil. And agrochemical in soil can move from the surface when they are dissolved and run off water, or when they percolate down through the soil. Those that have the infiltrated soil will eventually reach the groundwater and contaminate the groundwater too. And various factors influence the movement of the pesticide. One is the leaching of the pesticide into groundwater, and agronomic factors such as timing, rate, and method of pesticide application, and the use of irrigation and cover crops, etc., decides the movement of the pesticide. And organic matter in soil is another one. If organic matter is more, usually they will have a tendency, because all these pesticides also organic in nature. So, like attracts like, and it is all retained there. And low absorption of pesticide to soil particles allows movement through the soil. Persistent pesticides are present for longer periods of time, increasing the chance of leaching into the groundwater. So, all these factors contribute to the pesticide. Apart from pesticide, fumigants also used to again for the agricultural protection, and these are also inherently in a way dangerous pesticide and highly volatile in nature, these fumigants, and mainly used to sterilize soil before planting crops such as special crops like strawberries, potatoes, and carrot. And some of the chemical compounds are used are chloropicrin, methyl bromide, and methyl iodide are used as a fumigant. And usually these soil fumigants are applied in three forms: gas fumigation, solid fumigation, and liquid fumigation. All these things, liquid for example formaldehyde is one medium, and in the gas it is magnesium phosphide is used, and gas fumigation sulfuryl fluoride vapors are used mainly to reduce the population of soil organism, which again further interfere with this agricultural practices. So, one of the main issue of this agrochemical are as these pesticide and fumigants are usually they are proved cancer causing substances. They increase the risk of cancer rate, okay, and also increases the infant mortality rate. And whenever there is a leaching of this pesticide and other chemical, the water becomes toxic. So, responsible pesticide applicators should follow good management practices, whatever prescribed in the label whenever they go for application. That actually result in effective pest control with a little risk to the environment. So, the applicators of this pesticide should take not only for him using proper safety equipment, and whatever good practices advocated they should follow effectively, so that the health problems due to the others through this means can be avoided. Because the main issue as quality of soil is important, okay, not only for this the agricultural nutrients, everything is important, but in the other agrochemicals like pesticide and fumigants applied become contaminant of the soil. This contamination of this pesticide, highly toxic in nature, impacts on the public health through human food chain. This is a main problem to be worried, okay. So, proper attention to be paid in this direction. Very good agricultural practices be require nutrients, both macro as well as micronutrients. Most of the soil have this, it is inbuilt. Otherwise, we can go for addition of wherever required fertilizer. As far as possible, we have to avoid synthetic fertilizer, and we should go for bio based one like solid based material that should be properly composted, one of the very good manure to be used for agriculture practices. The other aspect is pesticide and other agrochemicals like fumigants. We have to take utmost care in applying this and protecting the crop, so that the others are all not exposed to this pesticide, not only the human being, other animals, and in general the environment, then definitely we can overcome the problem of these agrochemicals use with a proper management of these chemicals. Thank you very much.